To ILTV's Israel Daily, I'm Aaron Porras, and before we begin, we want to remind you again that for more of the best content from Israel, sign up today for our streaming platform, ILTV+. Now, coming up in today's newscast, Israeli President Herzog finishing his historic 24-hour visit with Turkish President Erdogan, but the celebratory atmosphere undermined by protests and ties to Palestinian terror. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Zelenskyy calling to address the Israeli Knesset as foreign ministers from Kyiv and Moscow meet in Antalya, Turkey for trilateral negotiations. And finally, Israel announcing the absorption of thousands of Ukrainian refugees, but many are reportedly still stuck in limbo at the airport in Tel Aviv. Our opening story tonight, Israeli President Isaac Herzog winding down his historic trip to Turkey, the first top-level meeting with Ankara in some 14 years. But the reconciliation between the nations already hitting a few minor snags. ILTV reporter Asaf Nissan with the details.
Landing to fanfare and the sound of the national anthem, Israeli President Herzog starting his historic trip to Turkey with a bang. After over a decade of practically frozen ties, the two nations finally taking the first steps towards resuming close diplomatic relations.
ועלינו להסכים מראש שלא על הכל נוכל להסכים, זה טבעם של יחסים עם עבר עשיר כשלנו. אבל את המחלוקות נשאף לפתור בכבוד הדדי ובגילוי לב, באמצעות המנגנונים והמערכות הנכונות שנפתח במשותף, ונביט ביחד אל העתיד המשותף.
As for the initial agreements, both Herzog and Turkish President Erdogan discussing the future of collaborations in everything from energy, tourism, and technology to agriculture, health, and defense. And to that end, Turkey's foreign minister already set to visit Israel next month to meet with Israeli foreign minister and alternate prime minister Yair Lapid. But meantime, not everyone in Turkey pleased with the visit. Anti-Israel activists seen removing Israeli flags, burning them, and then replacing them those of the Palestinians. And likewise, after the meeting in Ankara, Herzog heading to Istanbul to meet with members of Turkey's long-standing Jewish community. But the president's envoy met with some 150 anti-Israel protesters, calling for ties with Israel to remain as frozen as possible. Many Palestinian groups, including Islamic Jihad and Hamas, maintaining strong presence and influence in Turkey. And they accuse Israel of being a terror state, arguing that any reconciliation would come at the Palestinians' expense. Of course, many analysts claiming that Erdogan not reconciling with Israel out of altruism anyway. While Israel hoping that this meeting signifying a turning point in Turkey-Israel ties, Erdogan said to be aiming at bettering relations with the West, and ties with Israel simply as a stepping stone in the process.
And now joining me with more analysis on Israel-Turkey relations, former Israeli ambassador to Turkey, Dr. Alon Liel. Dr. Liel, thank you so much for being with us. Now, you've indicated recently that you think that this is a good thing, especially because Erdogan initiated it. What are your reasons?
No, I think the fact that he initiated it and is very interested in it gives us a certain advantage that if we will not like the product, we can always pull back. And this is, by the way, also the reason we are so slow in progressing, because the level of trust is still very low. I also said that it's very moving to see for somebody who in the 70s and 80s really ran after Turkey and often got a cold shoulder, to see the Turks running after us a little bit, and here and there getting a cold shoulder from time to time. So it's an indication for what happened in the Middle East in the last decade especially.
All right, so let's talk a little bit, more details from both the diplomatic and the local citizen level. What does Israel have to gain, and what does Turkey have to gain from a rapprochement?
Turkey has to gain much more, because and has a very long list of requests. It has to gain a lot because its situation, its Middle Eastern situation, recently was bad. It was quite isolated. It made a lot of mistakes in the relations with us, with Egypt, with Syria, and so on.
To watch full episodes of ILTV's Israel Daily and tons of other content from Israel, visit our website at iltv.tv or download the ILTV Plus app.